right, we have time for several questions. We'll start in the center, second row, Associated Press.
Yes, Lorne Cook from Associated Press, a question for both of you. There risks being, you're sending more resources to the eastern flank, and there risks being competition now between what Ukraine needs and what the allies are requiring themselves. Isn't it time to start allowing allies on the east to actually start firing at missiles and drones that are in Western Ukraine when they're coming toward the border? In fact, isn't it time just to integrate entirely with Ukraine because you're facing the same enemy anyway?
So, sir, thank you for the question. What I would say is Eastern Sentry is focused on the defense of alliance territory. As of right now, I see no conflict between the support that individual nations are providing to Ukraine and what they are offering to contribute to this effort.
All right, Agence France Presse.
Thank you very much. One question for the Secretary General and one for SACEUR, please. Max Delaney, AFP. Secretary General, NATO crossed a Rubicon the other day by shooting down Russian aircraft over Allied territory for the first time. Is NATO now closer to war with Russia than it's ever been? And to SACEUR, you've said repeatedly that this was a successful operation by NATO to shoot down these drones, but it seems that you only shot down a handful of the drones, which was a far lower rate than Ukraine achieves. Was this really a success, and is it sustainable to keep on shooting down drones with multi-million-dollar aircraft and expensive equipment? Thank you.
To your first question, what this shows is that we will defend every inch of NATO territory, every inch of Allied territory, all 32 allies. And whatever the intent was behind this, yes or no, and whether it was a mistake or not, we are still looking into that. It was reckless, it was unacceptable. These are Russian drones, and it is extremely serious what happened last Wednesday. So obviously, we would not be sitting here like this if then NATO would not immediately come into action and defend every inch of territory. This Allied territory is exactly what we have done. And in the end, it's up to Russia how far they will take this. We will defend ourselves. We are a defensive alliance, not an offensive alliance. We will defend this beautiful 32 alliance established in 1949, and we'll make sure that our 1 billion people stay safe and stay free.
Sir, for the part of the question that you directed to me, I do think it was a highly successful operation intercepting the drones that we did with the Dutch F-35s and the other assets that contributed to that. As successful as we are, we always learn something in the debrief, as we would say in the fighter business. And so we are always looking for ways to enhance, to learn from the smallest tactical error to how we're approaching certain problems. In my judgment, the scale of the incursion the other day was obviously larger than previous incursions that we've had. So bringing additional resources to bear on this problem will help to solve that. So that's why we're starting this operation the way we are. I'll also highlight the comment I made about working with Allied Command Transformation and Admiral Vandier. That is an effort to ensure that we get lower cost weapons that we can use to defend ourselves, to make this a sustainable operation over time. And as SACEUR, one of my responsibilities is to make sure that we don't just defend today, but that we're set up to defend tomorrow. The last comment I'll make is when there's a fighter pilot that's in the air or someone on the ground who's defending the alliance, I don't want them thinking about how much their weapons cost. I want them defending our citizens.
We'll move to this side of the room. Third row, Reuters.
Thank you. Andrew Gray from Reuters. Question for the Secretary General. Do you consider the response from the United States, particularly from the President, sufficient so far when he said, "What's with Russia violating Poland's airspace with drones? Here we go." And have you spoken to President Trump about this? If so, what was the content of the message? If not, why have you not spoken to him? And for the Supreme Allied Commander, can you tell us whether any US military assets were involved in the response to this incident? And if not, why not? And can you also give us more details of this new activity, the size, the scale of the operation? Thank you.
To your first question, I think the American reaction was very clear by the American president, also by the ambassador here. It's absolutely clear that we all stand together on this. America's commitment to NATO is ironclad in every sense, there's no doubt. So I was very happy with the American reaction, and I'm not disclosing every phone call, every discussion I have. But you have seen in the press reported a phone call by the Polish president to Donald Trump, the American president. I spoke also with the Polish president. I think that was a very good phone call, clearly building also on the excellent relationship the two have been building last week during the visit of the new Polish president to the White House. So I'm absolutely satisfied on that front.
As far as U.S. military assets, I'm right here, and I'm involved. The United States commitment to the integrated military structure of the alliance remains. For kinetic assets the other day, there were not any. This is a function of the rotation of forces that we have to our different missions around the alliance, so and simply a matter of scheduling more than anything else. As we look forward to your question on more details on the size and scope, Eastern Sentry, as I envision it, is going to cover the entire eastern flank of the alliance, from the high north to the Black Sea and the Mediterranean, anywhere that we might see a threat from the Russians. And modeling on Baltic Sentry, which is a highly successful operation in the Baltic Sea, we have been able, through our presence and through adapting the level of forces that we have at any particular time based on how we assess the threat picture, to prevent any attacks on undersea infrastructure in the Baltic Sea since we started that operation. The same logic of this vigilance activity will apply, in that across the eastern flank we'll constantly adjust and change our posture in a manner that keeps the adversary off guard, but also responds to specific threats as we see them emerging.
Fourth row center.
Thanks for the question. Thomas Kutschka with Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. I have two questions. The first one for the immediate future. When will this new operation be up and running? Baltic Sentry was just a matter of days. Is that the time frame you're considering? And then in the longer term picture, the President of the European Commission this week suggested or proposed a drone wall as an answer to the new threat, to be possibly financed from the common EU budget. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about this idea. It's something that comes from the Baltic states. Is that the right way to go to better protect the eastern flank? And I leave it up to you who wants to
So I take
reply.
the second question, and Grynkewich, you do the
Okay,
first.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of comments. I have issued the order tonight for Eastern Sentry to begin. The order went out as this press conference began, and so operations are being brought together immediately underneath my authorities as SACEUR. Now, it will take some time for us to bring everything together with the new contributions that have been coming in, and we'll continue to work on this and refine the design of the operation moving forward, but it begins immediately. I'll just make one comment on the drone wall, Secretary General. This is very in line with some of our thoughts of fortifying our eastern flank from a land and air domain perspective. And just coming back from the Baltics, the number of states are making investments in technologies, learning lessons from Ukraine about what kind of sensors and what kind of weapons, kinetic and non-kinetic, might be effective. And so integrating those sorts of defenses into our daily deterrence activities and into our regional plans is absolutely going to be something that we want to do moving forward.
Now, and then to your question about Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, I think she had an excellent State of the Union. There was a lot of defense in there, and a lot of, how also the EU can help here and contribute to the overall effort. And this is exactly what we have been doing since October, since I came into office. And of course, we are close personal friends, and the EU and NATO are extremely closely working together on all of this, where we all agree that NATO is about the standard setting, about the capability targets, the defense plans, and the EU is about all the soft power, because you cannot fight with plans. You need to have the weapons, the defense industrial base and all that, and there we need the European Union. Also, of course, there's the question of money. Your question is also referring to that part. And of course, when it comes to money, that's national money. But everything the EU can help is great, and where the EU can bring together initiatives to, for example, when it comes to drones and developing the industry, that is all extremely helpful and absolutely in line with how and I think also the President of the European Commission see the division of labor. And here we can learn so much from, of course, Ukraine itself. They have a well-established defense industrial base. They have a lot of experience now with drone interceptors. We have JTAC, the Joint Analysis Training and Education Center in Poland, which is joint NATO and Ukraine, where we take lessons. And as we both said, Admiral Pierre von Jay and his team in Norfolk, of course, working day in, day out on making sure that we apply the latest insights, technologies in how we build our posture.
Okay, we'll come to the second row in the center, please.
Hi, thank you, Terry Schultz with Deutsche Welle today. The alliance has long been asking for enhanced, or allies, I should say, has long been asking for enhanced air defense, even before the war with Ukraine, but certainly since Russia's full-scale invasion. So do you feel at all that now you're having to play catch-up, that these are things that could have and should have been done earlier, and now it's simply been thrown into such sharp focus, and with the danger intensifying every day from Russia, is this not too little, but a bit late?
Yeah, I would refer to the performance that we had the other night during the incursion in Poland, in that we were well postured. The authorities that the North Atlantic Council had provided to SACEUR had been further delegated, and aircrew were able to act decisively on a meaningful tactical timeline to eliminate much of the threat that was heading into Poland. So I don't think we're playing catch up. I think we were postured fairly well for that event. Now, having said that, we're always learning, and that's part of the reason that we're moving forward with this enhanced vigilance activity to bring additional capabilities together, given the scale of that incursion being something that we hadn't seen to this point. We had seen a few drones here and there, a smaller number, very well postured. If it had just been that, we would have gotten them all. But clearly, with the number that came across the border, it's time to take a fresh look at this, and we're always learning. NATO is a learning organization. Allied Command Operations is a learning command, and we're going to do everything we can as we learn those lessons to incorporate them rapidly and ensure we're defending every inch of the alliance.
All right, now we will go to Bloomberg here in the second row.
Thank you very much. Secgen, I have a question for you first. Yes. Presumably, you have more information now about the question of intent than you had 2 days ago. So even though I understand, like, you're still assessing, what more do you know today than you knew 2 days ago? And also, more of a philosophical question, perhaps, on intent. How do you exactly define intent? Do you mean the intent for these drones to have been in Polish airspace in the first place, or once they are in Polish airspace, what they were intending to do there? And SACEUR, I also have a question for you. I struggle to understand what exactly is new in this new Sentry program beyond assets that have already been announced and that are now being integrated. So if you could tell us exactly what the new assets are going to be. Thank you so much.
Well, on your first question, obviously by day we get more insights. I won't share them with you, but I think that at the moment when we would have a full conclusion and we could share it with others, we could do so. And even that I'm not sure of, because that all depends, of course, on what we find. The only thing I can tell you, because I think whatever I tell you has to be the truth. And the truth is that at this moment we are still assessing. And at the same time, I think the question is relevant. What's behind this? But at the same time, it's not that relevant, because whatever yes or no, it was deliberate. It was anyway reckless. It was a bunch of Russian drones, even if they were not intent to go into Poland, if that would be the outcome of this. Or even, and of course, if it was the intent, that's even more serious. But in both cases, it is reckless, it is unacceptable. It is the Russians taking a risk. We have seen this before in the Baltic countries. We have seen this before in Romania. And this is simply unacceptable. And that is why it is so important that on top of what we do already, which is the overall posture of NATO, plus the forward land forces we have on the eastern flank, that the Supreme Allied Commander has decided to launch this initiative to make sure that we defend the eastern flank even better with more flexibility.
So a really good question. So we saw President Macron's announcement of providing the Rafale fighters. We have Danish F-16s that have been offered. A frigate has been offered. Some ground-based air defense capabilities have been offered. But I would ask that we don't focus on those specific items. The key to this is an entirely new defense design. So the previous way that we orchestrated ourselves on the eastern flank is we had individual air policing actions in different locations, and we had individual ground-based air defenses in several locations as well. And then, of course, we're working with nations on a case-by-case basis as we see threats. This is going to be a comprehensive and integrated approach, and with additional resources, we'll be able to plug gaps in the line, we'll be able to concentrate forces where we need to defend at a moment of a particular threat, and we'll have much better communication across the entire eastern flank so that it's truly an integrated approach to this defense. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for a few more. We'll go to the fourth row in the center.
It's Gül from NTV Turkey. Just a little follow-up to my colleagues from Bloomberg question with regard the intent. We don't know yet the intent, but there were some, no divisions, but different approach from member states with regard to support we have to give to Ukraine or to defend ourselves. So do you think that this Russian aggression unite against, again, the member state, that we should give the necessary helps to Ukraine and that we should defend ourselves? And my question to Saker is that if Russia aggression increases, do you need to come back again to North Atlantic Council to have a mandate, or is the operation given now gives you enough room so that if the aggressions increase, you can increase your ways and means? Thank you.
On your first question, as I said, we are assessing it, and again, the answer to that question is of course of relevance, but anyway, it is unacceptable what happened. And anyway, it is the Russians behind it, because these drones came out of Russia. So the question is then, was it deliberate or not? And of course that's relevant, but only to a limited extent, because in the end, whatever they did, it is reckless, it is unacceptable, and we cannot accept Russian drones entering European, EU, NATO airspace. Allied airspace. That is absolutely impossible, and that is why we need to defend ourselves against it. On your second question, it is and. And this is exactly what also the Supreme Allied Commander said before. One, we have our plans in place, and we can, as we speak, if any attack would take place on NATO territory, we can defend ourselves. And then, of course, we have the coalition of the willing working on if there will be a peace deal in Ukraine. Let's pray it will be there as soon as possible. That we are able collectively to put in place the necessary security guarantees for Ukraine. We can do that. And what General Grynkewich today announced, we can also do, without spreading our resources too thinly.
No, thank you. And I'll just add to what the Secretary General said. As Supreme Allied Commander Europe, I'm incredibly grateful for the NAC, for the authorities that have been delegated under the Defense and Deterrence family of plans that we have, including here during our peacetime period. And what this allows me to do on behalf of the alliance is to rapidly respond to these events. I'm very careful to execute those authorities with discretion and judgment, again, but very thankful to the NAC for allowing us to do this, allowing me to have the authority. Again, it enables a rapid response. I think that's important in this day and age when things move so very quickly, and we'll continue to move quickly to respond to this.
Okay, we'll go to the third row, the man with the tie. Yes.
Thanks for taking the question, Richard Huso, Finnish Broadcasting Company. This is for both the Secretary General and the Supreme Commander, if I may. The threat of airspace violations and drone attacks is obviously a shared concern for all allies, but would you say that countries with a longer border to Russia are more exposed in this regard, and could they expect some specific or enhanced help from NATO to tackle this situation? Thank you.
Yeah, but of course the problem is this is about the eastern flank, because here is a direct threat to the eastern flank from, for example, drones or whatever could threaten our allies on the eastern flank. But more generally speaking, you know, I don't like that whole eastern flank thinking because it gives the impression that if I live in Madrid or in London, I'm safer than when I live in Tallinn, and that is not true. because these latest Russian missiles, when they will be launched, they come down with 5 times the speed of sound, and they will take 5 or 10 minutes longer to reach Madrid or London than they take to reach Tallinn or Vilnius. So in that sense, let's agree that within this alliance of 32 countries, we all live on the eastern flank. Why is this Eastern Sentry so important? Because this concentrates on this very specific issue, which is airspace violations and making sure, and whatever other threat there is there, that we can better and with more flexibility defend ourselves in that part of NATO territory.
I guess I would just add for commentary, I have a fairly robust portfolio at the operational level of war of dealing with drone attacks from my time in the Middle East, including large drone attacks from Iran toward Israel back in April of 2023. I'm sorry, 2024. The range that those drones can fly and the paths that they can take, we are all vulnerable to them. So the eastern flank provides a first line of defense for this. And if those drones get through that first line of defense, they can be paired with the ballistic missiles or other capabilities that hold the entire alliance at risk. So I do think while it is an Eastern Sentry line that we're working to defend, it is on behalf of the entire alliance that this is going forward.
Okay, that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us.